Khaled. You'll see her a lot in the chat box. She'll be kind of moderating and everything in the chat box and engaging and everything too, as well as some other folks on our team. So feel free to participate in the chat. As we're going along here with the intro slides, which I'll get started with, feel free to introduce yourself, where you're from, what your major is. If you want to share your LinkedIn profile, that's great too. These are great for networking. But without further ado, we'll get started here. So welcome to the session with exploring medical scribe opportunities with ScribeAmerica. Then I'll go to the next slide. So this is our access and accommodation slide. Before I read through all this, I'm going to have you all, if you did register through Handshake, feel free to check in using the QR code here. Just scan your camera over it on your phone, and you should be good to go with the check-in. So your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of this presentation's design or delivery that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the following, and I'll read through each option. For online students, Online Accessibility Center by emailing oac@snhu.edu or by phone at 866-305-9430. For campus students, Campus Accessibility Center by emailing cac@snhu.edu or by phone at 603-644-3188. And for SNHU staff and faculty, Human Resources Office by emailing hr@snhu.edu. So again, thank you all for attending. Two more quick notes here. The first one, many of you I know did find out about this event through Handshake. If you didn't, totally fine as well. Handshake is where we house all of our job postings that come through with employers that recruit SNHU alumni and students, as well as all of our virtual events like this one. So absolutely check them out on Handshake. Specifically, we call out the events as this slide is mentioning. This is a great way to not only learn more about companies, organizations, their culture, the types of opportunities they have, but also to network with those companies and each other as well, right? So super important to keep that top of mind. Chelsea's going to be popping that information and the information on this slide here in the chat box as we go. But feel free to connect with us on the career team here at Southern New Hampshire University. We assist with all things career related. So resume writing, interview preparation, job search, salary negotiation, you name it. If it pertains to your career search or career readiness, we can assist you with that. So the email is coccareer@snhu.edu and the phone number is 888-672-1458. And again, Chelsea's, she hasn't already, she'll put that in the chat here shortly. So I'm going to unshare my screen, and without further ado, Rachel, I will definitely pass it over to you. Thanks so much for being here, attending, to Rachel and all the attendees. And Rachel, I'll let you have the floor.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much. I'll share my screen with you all really quick. All right, get this slideshow started.
Yep, you're good.
All right, perfect. Welcome to today's presentation. I'm Rachel Vredeveld. I'm a talent acquisition coordinator for ScribeAmerica. If you want to scan that QR code down in the corner, you can follow us on social media. And we are posting new hiring needs and upcoming events on there. And I'll just give you a kind of a brief overview of the presentation. I'll give a little bit of background about ScribeAmerica, kind of tell you what a medical scribe really is and how that works in the remote setting, and just the whole application process. All right, I want to start off by giving you some background about ScribeAmerica as a company. ScribeAmerica was founded in 2003 in California with a single scribe physician pair. And today we have opportunities in all 50 states and in Canada, staffing more than 40 different specialties. So the main role of the medical scribe position is to relieve the physician of the clerical duties that they would otherwise have to complete. Providers are able to be more efficient because of medical scribes. You really act as an assistant to the providers and help with that real-time documentation. This allows for more face-to-face interaction with patients, and providers are able to see more patients in a single day. So overall, things just move along much more quickly when there are medical scribes around to help out. A day-to-day of a medical scribe includes helping to track labs and imaging results, organize documents and results, decrease the time spent in facilities by both patients and providers, increase the amount of patients seen, completing documentation, and encouraging communication rather than note-taking. So for the remote scribe, things will look slightly different. You will connect with the provider through either video or audio. Live scribing via video includes following a doctor through a computer on wheels, so it's a little bit futuristic sounding. You will observe all the physician-patient interactions while charting in real time as though you are there in person. The other option is asynchronous scribing through audio, and this includes reviewing the audio of the physician-patient interaction and completing the medical records within the same day of their visit. For this option, you'll have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to scheduling. You won't be stuck to a specific shift time. Rather, you'll just have a set amount of work that needs to get done each day, and you just make sure that it all gets done. Now, in order to be a remote medical scribe, you will need a stable internet connection with speeds to accommodate video conferencing. And you will also need a quiet and private workspace free from distractions. Emphasis on the private workspace because you'll be dealing with medical records.
Hey, Rachel.
Yeah.
Just wanted to interject real quick. Something I forgot to mention for students and alumni at the beginning. If you all do have any questions, absolutely submit them in the chat. When Rachel concludes the presentation portion, you'll have plenty of time to have your questions addressed. So I'll answer them in order or ask them in order received. But absolutely, please feel free to put them in the chat. This session's absolutely for you all. So don't hesitate. We'll definitely have plenty of time. Thanks, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you for saying that as well. Definitely want to get to everyone's questions at the end. So continuing on, the medical scribe position gives you so many opportunities to develop and grow your skills as a medical professional. Charting for a provider will help you build medical terminology fluency. You will be using this terminology in a medical setting every day. You will also have an opportunity to see how the provider forms their diagnosis and what treatment path they will choose for their patient. You can kind of start to guess where that's going to lead, and it's really a good learning experience from that standpoint. You will also have the opportunity to develop your interpersonal skills and learn how to talk and communicate like a physician. You will learn how to speak with your patients as well as with your medical team and understand how and why it is different. You will learn how to explain those complex medical definitions in a way that the patient can understand, and you will learn how to communicate with compassion. You will learn how to navigate the EHR and other medical software and systems, and will learn best practices for charting to ensure excellent continuation of care, as well as for medical billing purposes. You will learn how to write treatment plans and learn the reasons behind why the provider chose to go with that particular treatment. And you will also have an opportunity to learn how to work under pressure, to know that your work matters, and to see how your notes are critical for the health of the patient. Scribing will also give you a competitive edge in the classroom and in your future career. You'll get the opportunity to practically apply many of the things you are learning in the classroom and get exposure to real-life scenarios that are better taught through experience. When professional schools or future employers see on your resume that you have worked as a medical scribe for a year or more, it will set you apart from the other candidates. It will show you have a dedication to medicine and a capacity for working in this field. Career Services has often shared with us that students with medical scribe experience have a stronger presence in mock interviews. This is part due to the medical terminology experience, but also the confidence that is built while working in this position. You will have stories to share and be able to talk about a career in medicine with ease because you've already been working side by side with a physician. One of the most meaningful things you will gain from working at ScribeAmerica is the incredible network you can build. After working with a provider for a year or more, you will have built a lasting relationship that can lead to a personalized letter of recommendation from someone who knows your work ethic. You'll be able to get valuable feedback and insight from tenured medical professionals in a variety of roles and specialties. And many of our medical scribes return to the facilities they scribed at to work in the future professions. There are very few opportunities like this where you can get firsthand experience in medicine and also get paid for it. This is also a different experience than volunteering or shadowing because not only do you get paid, but you are able to be a part of those experiences that a volunteer would be excluded from. We have a 4-step process to ensure we hire the right people and train the best medical scribes. First, we're going to make sure that your availability and typing speed meet the requirements for the areas we are hiring and will help you be successful throughout the training. You'll enter all that information when you apply on our career site. Next, you'll receive a prompt after completing your application to complete a quick video assessment. This will only take you about 3 minutes, and it's just one single question. Why do you want to be a medical scribe? Once that is completed, you'll receive an email from Scribe 101, which is a partner site, where you'll be invited to complete some foundational knowledge and learning assessments. Once you pass that, you will speak with one of our hiring teammates within the market who will review the job with you and hopefully send you that offer. Once you have accepted your job offer letter, you will be required to go through a credentialing process, and this can include a short waiting period. Some managers may even complete a secondary interview. The timeline of this process can be different for each individual and depend on the site-specific requirements. Typically, the whole onboarding process is 1 to 2 weeks. Each of our medical scribes are required to go through our paid training program. This will begin once you have accepted your job offer letter. Our training is broken down into 3 parts. First, there's Scribe University. This will be completed virtually and is essentially a crash course in medicine. You can expect quizzes on each lesson, and you will be required to take a final exam at the end of it. Once you have successfully passed, you can move on to the next step, which is the clinical training. For remote positions, this is also done remotely, and it's through video calls with the trainer and the provider at the site you are assigned to work at. This will be around 1 week long. After successful completion of your clinical training, your performance will be monitored closely for accuracy, efficiency, satisfaction, ability to take initiative, and consistent skill development by your chief scribe. Prior to applying, it's important to make sure that the medical scribe job is right for you. Here are a few factors to take into consideration. First is the commitment. You can do 2 years of part-time work, which is an average of 20 hours a week, or 1 year of full-time, which is the full 40 hours a week. You must also commit to the location that you applied to for at least 1 year. That's probably won't be a problem for you guys since this is a remote position, but if you did want to switch to a different specialty or clinic, you'd have to wait at least a year. Next are the availability requirements. Currently for the remote positions, we do only have outpatient clinics with openings. So that's going to be your typical 9 to 5, Monday through Friday availability. For part-time, it's typically 2 to 3 days, and for full-time, it's 4 to 5 days a week. Like I said earlier, the asynchronous option does give you more flexibility where you don't have that set schedule, but that's also a limited option as well. A couple other factors to take into consideration is you will be working in a high stress environment and you will be required to complete our training successfully before moving forward with your position. Aside from the benefits of being a medical scribe, as a ScribeAmerica employee, you get additional perks like PTO for full-time employees, health, vision, and dental insurance, 10% off Kaplan courses for those of you prepping for the MCAT or GRE, AAA discount, as well as others like Apple, various rental car companies, and hotels. On top of that, we pay you to complete the classroom and the clinical training, which means you get paid to learn to be a scribe. And lastly, we do have a referral program where you can make $200 per every friend or family member that you refer that gets hired with us. So that is unlimited money right there if you can find the people. Here are a few tips on how to be successful in this position from some of our former scribes. They said to always be punctual, professional, and proud of your work. For the Scribe 101 and the classroom training, they recommended practicing your typing speed, and there are free sites online where you are able to do that. For the final exams for both Scribe 101 and the classroom training, they recommended to study using the pre-made flashcards that are on sites like Quizlet. And if you just look up Scribe 101 flashcards, you'll be able to find them very easily. For your clinical training and beyond, they said that Google is your best friend. I know there's a lot of medical definitions out there, and you're not expected to know every single one right off the bat. Don't be afraid to ask questions. The providers want you to be successful, and the better you are at your job, the easier their job is. Get to know your provider beyond the scope of medicine and really build that relationship with them. And lastly, go easy on yourself when you're overwhelmed. A lot of people in the medical field tend to get overwhelmed with, some of the things they may be seeing or the hours that they are working. So just know that you are not alone in that. All right, that is all we have for today's presentation. If you want to go ahead and scan that QR code in the corner and complete an interest form for our team to follow up with you. If you do have any questions that come up after this, you can email applicant@scribeamerica.com. You can also reach out to me either on Handshake or to my email, which is my first and last name @scribeamerica.com. And then if you do want to apply, which I strongly encourage you to do, you can go to www.scribeamerica.com/apply. And then for the remote position, you can just search in the search box, telescribe, and that's the one that'll pop up for you. Other than that, let's get to some questions. I'll stop sharing my screen so I can kind of see the chat and see what's going on here.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, we got them all logged for you. We had a lot of good
Perfect.
ones come through. You mentioned, I want to start with one you just mentioned, Handshake. Could you explain like how you all use Handshake, how important it is in your recruitment search and everything for our students?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of our medical scribes are actually college students to some degree. So we use Handshake all of the time. We always have job postings up there. I know right now there is a little technical glitch with Handshake on their end, so we have to repost all of our jobs, but it will be up soon. We also do all the career fairs off of there. We post events, which are going to be, like these informational sessions. We do tabling events where you can just come and talk to us. So yeah, it's a big role in our recruiting efforts because we really love the students that apply for these positions.
Great, thank you. So a few awesome questions came through from Deborah I wanted to address. The first one, are they flexible? Are you flexible when students are attending school?
Yes and no. So if you're doing the live scribing, we need at least 2 days of that 9 to 5 availability. Whatever 2 days those are during Monday through Friday is completely up to your availability. However, when we talk about the asynchronous option where you're just doing it on your own time, we are super flexible there. As long as you get your work done that day, we don't really care what hours you're working. So to that degree, yes, but
Just a balance, figuring it
yeah,
out. Gotcha. Well, that's good. I guess that's kind of the benefit too of remote, right? It's
absolutely.
definitely more possible than maybe it otherwise would have been if A, students were going to class on site, or B, they were having to work on site. And in most cases here, unless there's some on ground students, which is a possibility, it's both online for class and online for work. So the next question from Deborah, pull it up here. So I just lost it for a second. Sorry. As a student, is it necessary to be majoring in healthcare?
No, it is not necessary at all. We do, look for those people because this is kind of like that gateway into the medical field, but it's definitely not necessary. And I know we have people from all different majors coming to us as well.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, and it's definitely, I'm glad you mentioned like a gateway, right? Position, definitely
Yes.
great for building experience. Um, so speaking to that, a question came through. Can you share best practices for preparing to interview for a medical scribe position?
Yes, absolutely. So, one of the things that all the hiring managers are going to ask is what is your typing speed? So, like I said in the PowerPoint, really practice that and kind of bring like a screenshot of your typing speed to the interview for them to review with you. We do strive for at least 50 words per minute.
Mhm.
Other than that, just really be passionate about this position. And if you are in a pre-med type of major, just really be enthusiastic about that and getting ready to enter into the medical field.
Gotcha. Would you recommend scribing for a student looking to pivot into healthcare? Because a lot of our students are sometimes career changers here, right? So, for instance, a career changer, maybe let's say they were in finance or hospitality, just as two examples, but they're looking to pivot into healthcare. Would you recommend scribing for a pivot into that?
Absolutely. Yeah, because this is going to introduce you to so many different aspects of that medical field. And it's a really good way to, test it out, see if that's really what you're into before kind of committing to anything big. So it's definitely a good way to just kind of dip your toe in the water.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a good experiences too, right? Like you kind of learn through experience. I mean, classes are
Absolutely.
great and everything, but to get it on your resume, A and B, kind of get more confidence. Okay, this is the niche within healthcare that I want to do, or this isn't the niche within healthcare that I want to explore. So to have that confidence either way. Um,
Absolutely.
Another question just came through from Kia. She says she works full time in healthcare. Is it realistic to think she can do this part time as well?
I mean, if you are committed, then absolutely. Because if you do that asynchronous option, you can do that in just the evenings, or just in the mornings, depend what you work in the healthcare field right now. So you can really just kind of squeeze it in your schedule whenever, which is really helpful.
And a question did come through on training, and you touched on the training and everything. I may have missed this, so I'm sorry if I'm asking
No
again.
worries.
But is it like can somebody take a little more time than maybe you all expect if they need a little more time on the training, or is it they have to be done with the training by X date and that's that?
Yeah, no, for our Scribe University training, it's really go at your own pace. I mean, if you're taking, a month or two to finish that, we might think about it. But if you have to take, 2, 3 weeks, that's completely fine. And it's just finishing each course as fast as you can or as slow as you want. So it's really up to you on that. And then for the clinical training, that's really dependent on how proficient you are already. So typically it's a week long, but if you're really a rock star, it might be shorter. If you need that additional little boost, it could be 2 weeks.
Gotcha. Question just came through on training from Deborah. How does the training work for remote applicants?
Yep, so that is also done all remotely. For Scribe University, like I said, you just kind of log in and do it at your own pace. And then for your clinical training, which is often called floor training, this will be video calls with your provider and your trainer at the site that you'll be working at. So it's also a good introduction to those people and seeing how it's going to look on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you for all the questions coming through, students and alumni, faculty and staff too. Feel free to keep submitting questions in the chat. Absolutely. We have a few more right now, but just want to make mention of that as we go here. There was a question on EHR. Does ScribeAmerica work with all EHRs?
That's going to be a question that I can't answer off the top of my head. I don't have any personal experience scribing, and I'm not sure what the contracts are with that. It's going to be probably most dependent on the site and the hospital and what they use.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because they're all going to use different and their own preferred. So yeah, it's kind of like with IT students knowing certain languages, right? You got to know the different EMRs. So question came through on the pay scale. What is the pay range for this position?
Yeah, absolutely. So the pay rate for this position is going to vary a little bit depending on which site you are placed at. I know typically it's higher than minimum wage for most states. It's going to be mainly between that $10 to $12 an hour range.
Gotcha. And with those, with the sites, can the student Rachel decide yes or no on a site, or how does that work?
Typically, it's going to be the hiring manager is looking at where we need people the most. So they'll kind of come up with one for you during that call when they have to go over the position. If it's not something that you're interested in all and you want to switch to a different one, they can definitely try to make that work for you.
Okay. The exam is, I know you talked a lot about preparation and everything. There was just a question on if the exam was challenging, and what would you most recommend for applicants to prepare for the exam?
Yeah, so I mean, it could be challenging for some and then some not so much. So that's a little bit of a difficult question to answer, but I would recommend just taking notes on every lesson. That's going to be the best way to prepare for that exam. And then also using those flashcards online. But definitely take notes on everything that you come across.
And in the interview process, right? What does the ideal, we'll call it rock star candidate, what does that look like for you all?
Really, it's someone who has that great typing speed, who is proficient in that typing skill, because once again, that's what you're going to be doing a lot of the time. And just really people that are ready to go and enthusiastic and just excited to learn really about the medical world.
Gotcha. It's definitely important to have passion towards it and everything. I think it just
Absolutely.
gets so much easier when you show that and exude that. I also like too that you have an employee referral program on a separate note. And that's something I think we should point out for students to, be aware of on both sides, right? You can
Yeah.
also search a lot of times for companies on LinkedIn, et cetera, to see if there's um, like an employee that already works there specifically for X position that you're going for. So in this case, a scribe. and then connect with that person, ask them how the day-to-day work is, so to kind of learn firsthand, but also have the understanding that they're getting that referral that Rachel was just speaking to, right? So they're aware of the incentive with the organization, just like you are now. So there's no longer that, like, if you remember probably 10 years ago even, not all companies had, most companies nowadays do have a referral program. Hardly any had a referral program. And if they did, LinkedIn didn't exist really, right? So it's a lot easier now. And I think it's that mind shift has transitioned to maybe, like, yeah, in a lot of instances, it is still important to actually know the person. But understanding that there's now a monetary incentive furthermore to referrals, is important to know for like your outreach and networking purposes, and how you can be a little more um, aggressive with, when you're trying to get a role and exploring that more. So Rachel, I appreciate you bringing that up.
No, yeah, for sure. And just to remind everyone, there is no cap on that referral bonuses that you get. So you can keep going and going.
And a question came through in the chat. Are there opportunities for promotions, advancement, or manager and training programs with Scribe?
Yeah, we actually really love promoting from within. You can do, the path to a chief scribe. And then you can even come to like my team. A lot of the people that I work with were previously scribes. You can go into different aspects of this company and really just work your way up in it. I know that our COO actually started as a scribe, so he definitely worked his way up there. But manager and training programs, not specifically, but there's definitely room for growth.
Yeah, a question came through. What is a chief scribe?
Yeah, good question. I talk in this lingo like everybody knows.
We all do it.
Yeah. So you have the scribes and then the chief scribe. There'll be one chief scribe per clinic, and that's kind of just the manager of all the other scribes there.
So how long would you say, just to get to a chief scribe role, for example, typically how long does that take to kind of grow to that position?
6 months maybe. I mean, if you're killing it on there, you're gonna get promoted for sure. It's all
Gotcha.
based on merit, not on time.
Gotcha. How far in advance are the schedules made?
That's also going to be dependent on the clinic that you're working at. I would guess mostly 1 to 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I mean, their patients and situations only come in at X rate. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't personally make the schedules ourselves. That's something that the hospitals take care of.
right. Awesome. Well, we are all caught up on questions.
Okay.
We pretty much rapid fired you. I'm sure we'll have one or two more come in while I'm talking. Yeah, we just had one. So keep the questions coming, by the way. We got until 6. So sorry, I'm on Central. We're 7 Eastern time is when we have until. So yeah, absolutely keep the questions coming. FYI, the session is recorded, like Chelsea said in the chat earlier. So you will have access to it, referring to it in Handshake after. It'll be posted in the comments section on Handshake of the event. So the next question was, if you are, it's like a follow-up, I think, to a previous one. If you're a remote scribe that needs to relocate to a different state, do you need prior approval? Which I know that's a good question just for companies in general, right? That's sometimes typical. So is that the case with Scribe?
As long as you aren't moving to Washington, California, or Washington, D.C., you'll be fine. Those are just the 3 places that we cannot have remote scribes in.
Yeah, definitely, like legalities a lot of times state to
Yes.
state, right? You'll find that with most organizations, they have at least a few states. So I think the fact that you all are not able to hire in technically only 2 states, DC, if you make it
Yep.
3 is very impressive. So that's definitely the norm, but great question in the chat there. For you specifically, you started at Scribe in talent acquisition. But what do you like most about working for the organization?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have that scribe experience, just my personal experience with the company is even though all of us are remote, it's really a team effort for recruiting people. I'm constantly in meetings with our team coming up with different plans and really just having that team feeling makes this not such a like remote job. It feels like I'm in the office some days, but that's been really cool. And then the opportunities for growth, because I know a lot of my teammates have been moving up the ladder lately. And that's really cool to see. Like when there's openings, we're always going to try to do it from within.
Gotcha. So question around the relocation. So sometimes it's situational, right, where a spouse or somebody gets military orders, just as an example,
Yes.
to go to a different state. Does that still fall in the whole like certain states you can't hire from, or are those folks, if they have to relocate to one of those states, still allowed to keep working for you?
From my understanding, I haven't come across a specific issue like that, but from what I've understood about this is that you will not be able to keep working if you're in one of those unapproved states.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I believe that is how it is. I can always follow up with my director and make sure that that is the case, though.
Gotcha. And for you, you had an email at the end of your presentation. What was that email again? I'll put it in the chat.
Yep. It's applicant@scribeamerica.com.
Thank you. Yeah, and if anybody has questions on like potential relocation questions or anything else, I'm sure that'd be the place they'd want to ask them.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
great. There was one more on relocation, and this is a good one. Thank you, Caitlin. DC specifically, that's a big metropolis, right? So does that
Yes.
include Maryland and Virginia as well, or is that specifically just DC?
Specifically just DC. If you're outside of there, you're good.
Gotcha. Yeah, Caitlin, I used to live in Manassas, Northern Virginia, so I definitely understand. There's about 100,000 suburbs. Yeah, sigh of relief. um, Awesome. So Daisy asked the question, since Scribe America works with so many hospitals, is there any sort of pipeline to move from Scribe America into one of the hospitals permanently, like networking or anything like that? Do you see that happen?
Yes, we see that quite often where the
Right.
people that were scribing at a specific hospital actually return there to work in their like professional, like whatever they're in.
Great.
But yeah, that does happen quite a lot. And it's really just from building that relationship with the hospitals.
Yeah. Yeah, Daisy, thank you so much for that because it's an awesome question slash point, right? So many times we hear about like, oh, well, volunteer at this, if we're speaking healthcare, volunteer at this facility, whether it's a hospital, assisted living, et cetera, and you get to meet people and get to know people. Um, and it's not volunteering by any means, it's a paid professional position, right? And you're getting to do the same thing, not to take away from Rachel or the growth within Scribe America specifically, right? But it is a point worth making that she acknowledged. Definitely the networking is there if you're within that organization and communicating, whether it is on site or virtually. Do you have as well, or everything's remote, right, Rachel? There's no on site roles that you recruit for specifically?
We actually do also have in-person positions. If that is something that you are all interested in, they're all listed on our careers page as well. And that's going to be, you can do also emergency departments with the in-person position. You can also do the outpatient clinics, but be there in person. I just do the recruiting for the remote positions
Right.
themselves. So I kind of talk those up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
Thank you.
do have in-person positions.
Thank you. Alyssa Laskowski shared earlier in the chat, FYI, to all the link to their career page as well. With the remote position specifically, thanks, Chelsea. They're always posting on Handshake, like Rachel said as well, with the remote scribe roles. And if you want to attend, I know we posted the event link earlier. Chelsea did. Scribe America beyond this session is consistently hosting sessions just like this one. Uh, posted on Handshake as well. So you're able to attend another one if you had additional questions in the future or wanted to dialogue with Rachel or another contact. I know they have another coming up, I think April 12th and then April 20th, and they'll have more beyond that. But good stuff. Yeah, feel free to keep putting questions in the chat. We got a few more minutes here until we hit 7 Eastern time. In the meantime, Rachel, did you have any final thoughts or anything else to share or add?
Yeah, I mean, just once again, I really encourage everyone to at least submit an application, even if you're kind of on edge about it or don't think you can do the right hours. Our hiring team is really going to try their best to find a position specifically for you and work around your schedule as hard as possible. And it's a great opportunity to just really learn everything that you can and get those real life experiences.
Great, excellent. Yeah, a lot of opportunity for experience, something on the resume, confidence, etc. Yeah, a question just came through before we let you go. Not sure if you already mentioned it, but what are your COVID vaccine requirements for your organization?
Oh yeah, great question. If you are doing that in-person position, then yes, it is a requirement just because you're working with patients every day. For the remote positions, it is not required at all.
Gotcha. All right. If there's nothing else, we will conclude the session. Thank you all so much for attending. Again, it is being recorded and it'll be available through Handshake. You just have to go to your previous events and you'll see it in there if you just click the session to refer to it at any time. Rachel, thanks so much again.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for taking the time out of your day to come and join this today.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.